Have you ever witnessed an execution by bureaucracy? Not by a sword, not by a scandal, but by a sentence. A single, pristine, devastating sentence. At 7:30 a.m. on December 2nd, Buckingham Palace committed an act of such quiet, administrative violence that the world is still trying to catch its breath. The weapon? 16 words. The palace confirms that all future coordination with the Duchess of Sussex has been formally concluded. Let that echo in the silence. This wasn't a press release. It was a death certificate for a relationship. It was the sound of a 1,000-year-old institution finally, coldly, saying enough. While London wiped sleep from its eyes and reached for the kettle, a royal aide, somewhere in a quiet office with a view of a grey courtyard, pressed a button. And just like that, Meghan Markle was officially, permanently, and unceremoniously deleted from the royal server. No exit interview. No gold watch. No thank you for your service. Just a digital missive that landed with the force of a falling guillotine. The shock wasn't in the action. Everyone saw a storm brewing. The shock was in the form. The sheer, bloodless, corporate finality of it. No, the royal family wishes to thank. No, after careful consideration. No, with mutual respect. Just a cold, hard confirmation of a conclusion. As if they were terminating a vendor contract, not a daughter-in-law. The chill of those words could freeze the Thames. This is the story of how a fairy tale doesn't just end. It gets audited. It's the story of the quiet coup that happened not in ballrooms but in back offices. Of evidence compiled not in diaries but in legal briefs and diplomatic cables. This is the forensic breakdown of how patience runs out, how strategy hardens into stone, and how a family business worth billions decides to cut its losses. And it all begins not with a scream but with a pattern. A drip, drip, drip of poison that finally filled the cup to overflowing. Act 1, the glamour vs. the trapper wind. Autumn 2024. The leaves are turning in London, and inside the palace, a colder season is setting in. Picture King Charles, a monarch carved from duty, now weathered by it. His health is a private matter, a quiet undercurrent that forces a slower pace. The crown is heavier than it looks. He delegates. But the weight of the Sussex situation, always with capital letters, sits on his desk like a paperweight made of lead. Now shift your gaze to Prince William. The heir, the future. His face, once open, is now a studied map of control. He's not just a brother anymore. He's a CEO in waiting, assessing a toxic asset that's threatening the entire portfolio. The empathy he might have felt has been calcified by constant crisis. He watches his wife, Catherine, with a protective, simmering anger. Catherine, the Princess of Wales. She is the embodiment of keep calm and carry on, but even marble can stain. She launches a passionate, meticulously researched campaign on early childhood development. It's her life's work. The headlines should be about changing lives. Instead, like clockwork, a story blooms in an American outlet. Tension in the ranks. Is Kate alienating palace staff? The source? A palace insider. The timing? Impeccable. It's not an attack. It's a dilution. A cloud of glitter thrown over substance. She doesn't flinch publicly, but William sees the microscopic weariness in her eyes. The toll of being a perpetual footnote in someone else's revenge fantasy. Enter Princess Anne, the royal family's steel spine. She doesn't deal in drama. She deals in data. And the data she uncovers in early November is explosive. She traces a series of damaging palace source quotes in major U.S. publications. A forensic dig reveals the truth. These aren't wayward aides. These are voices from Meghan's past orbit, now puppeteering a narrative, selling access to a castle they no longer live in. 2N, this isn't gossip. It's fraud. It's impersonation. It's a violation of the institution's sovereign integrity. She takes her findings to Charles. Her voice is like ice cracking. This is not a family squabble, Charles. This is a coordinated disinformation campaign. Then, the world calls. Not the tabloids. The actual world. The Foreign Office delivers a memo, couched in the most polite diplomatic jargon, which translates to, fix this. Our allies are annoyed. Picture the scene. The Japanese emperor is on a state visit, discussing trade and climate accords. The first question at the press conference? Your Majesty, what's the latest on the feud between the Princess of Wales and the Duchess of Sussex? It's become a global joke. The crown is becoming a circus, and the clowns are running the narrative. The monarchy is being reduced to a subplot in its own story. But the true point of no return comes wrapped in a pitch deck, a Hollywood production company. A documentary, titled, let's say, The Woman Who Said No, scheduled for a Christmas Day release. Christmas, the monarchy's holy night. A time for carols from the balcony, for the solemn message from the sovereign, for family and tradition. This documentary promises to turn that night into a courtroom, It pledges explosive new testimony, re-examined evidence, framing Meghan's exit not as a choice, but as an expulsion by a cruel, racist, antiquated regime. It's not content. It's a calculated siege on their most sacred, vulnerable moment. William reads the proposal. His knuckles are white. This is no longer about hurt feelings. This is an act of narrative warfare. They aren't just telling their story. They are aiming to obliterate his family's Christmas. Finally, Queen Camilla speaks. The survivor. The woman who was public enemy number one for decades and navigated her way back to quiet respectability. She understands the optics of persecution better than anyone alive. And what she says in a private council chills the room. We have spent years trying to be kind, trying to be understanding. But kindness is being read as weakness. Understanding is being used as a foothold for the next assault. She looks at Charles. Her gaze steady. Your health, the stability of everything you have worked for. It cannot withstand another cycle of this. We are not protecting her anymore by staying silent. We are endangering the crown. The word hangs there, endangering. It's the word that changes everything. What would you have done? Continued a doomed strategy of quiet diplomacy? Or taken the one step that guarantees the chaos stops? Act 2. The scandalous decision. War room is the 1844 room. It's not a throne room. It's a boardroom for an empire. Rain spits against the windows on the night of November 30th. The atmosphere isn't one of anger, but of grim, corporate resolve. William sits at the head of the table. Before him is not a family photo, but a dossier. A compendium of the 5 fatal warnings. The attack on Catherine, a timeline showing the correlation between her major initiatives and negative sourced leaks, the fraudulent sources, and evidence packet, proving the palace insiders are fictional constructs. The diplomatic memos, the foreign office's increasingly frustrated communiques, the Christmas ambush, the Netflix documentary proposal, a blatant act of cultural sabotage, Camilla's ultimatum, the stark assessment that the monarchy's survival authority is at stake, and sits rigid. Her point is made. Camilla is present, a pillar of somber practicality. Charles has delegated the final call. This is now William's burden to carry as the future king, a senior communications advisor. A man whose job is to spin straw into gold. Speaks softly. We have 3 pathways. 1. Maintain the status quo. We will be having this exact meeting again in March and again in June. 2. A private, stern warning through back channels. It will be leaked before the ink is dry, used as proof of our bullying and ignored. 3. A public, unilateral and irrevocable statement of conclusion. It will be brutal. It will be final. But it will end the cycle. The room is tomb silent. William's eyes scan the documents. He is not thinking of his brother in this moment. He is thinking of the institution he will one day embody. He is thinking of his wife, working tirelessly while being used as a pawn. He is thinking of his father, who deserves a peaceful reign. He is thinking of the veterans, the charities, the diplomats, all held hostage by this perpetual psychodrama. There is no viable path that includes her. William says, his voice devoid of emotion. It is a clinical diagnosis. Every opening is treated as a vulnerability. Every silence is taken as consent. We have tried management. It has failed. The only tool left is severance, and gives a single, sharp nod. Camilla's eyes close for a brief second, a silent acknowledgement of the pain this will cause, and the necessity of causing it. The decision is made, not in rage, in resignation. The drafting of the statement becomes an exercise in surgical precision. Teams work through the night. Every draft is rejected for being too soft, too wordy, too open to interpretation. We hope for the best. No, the door remains open. Absolutely not. With regret, we must announce. Too emotional. William's instruction is clear. It must sound like the closing of a file, not the slamming of a door. A file, cold, complete, understood by every government, every tabloid, and every person on Earth in an instant. The final version is only 16 words long. It contains no adjectives, no adverbs, just a subject, a verb, and a brutal object, coordination. Concluded. It is the most devastating sentence the House of Windsor has ever issued. Because it doesn't feel like they're fighting. It feels like they've stopped playing the game and have shut off the power to the entire stadium. Smart strategic move to protect the crown. Or a heartless, cowardly act of public abandonment. Act 3. The optics. The gasp heard round the world. 7:30 a.m., December 2nd. The digital press wire lights up. In the BBC newsroom, a producer chokes on her coffee. The anchor, mid-sentence about the morning weather, is handed a slip of paper. His eyes widen. A beat of pure, live television silence. We are just receiving breaking news from Buckingham Palace. At Sky News, a royal correspondent is yanked from her makeup chair. She goes on air with one earring in, reading the statement aloud, her voice trembling not with emotion, but with the sheer shock of its bluntness. In Montecito, California. It is 11:30 p.m. on December 1st. The house is quiet. A phone screen illuminates in the dark. The notification pings. A source close to the couple describes the following minutes as profoundly still. Harry reads the words. He says nothing. He simply places the phone face down on a table. The message is not just for Meghan. It's for him, too. It defines his future by her exclusion. Meghan's reported reaction is one of cold shock. She expected a battle, a leak. A vicious quote from an anonymous source. She was prepared for a street fight. This was not a street fight. This was a notice of eviction from the city limits. It was administrative annihilation. How do you fight a filing cabinet? The optics of the palace's move were a masterpiece of passive aggression. William, later that morning, attends a pre-planned engagement at a youth center. He is asked nothing. The press pack is uncharacteristically quiet. His very presence calm, smiling, normal is the only statement needed. It screams, this is not a crisis. This is a concluded matter. We have moved on. Princess and visits a naval base. She shakes hands, inspects machinery, her face its usual mask of no-nonsense competence. The message? The monarchy is a machine. It has removed a faulty component. The machine whirs on. Catherine is the most powerful optic of all. She is photographed visiting a hospice, kneeling beside a patient, her focus absolute. She embodies the unbothered, while the world screams about a 16-word sentence. She is speaking the language of touch, of compassion, of work. The contrast is devastating. It paints Meghan as the protagonist of drama and Catherine as the protagonist of duty. The global split is instantaneous and visceral. In the United Kingdom, a national sigh of relief. Talk radio lines jam with callers, mostly older, saying some variation of thank God. They've finally grown a backbone. The editorials are supportive. The Telegraph calls it a necessary amputation. The Times analyzes it as the reassertion of sovereign authority. The public mood, it was harsh. But it was time. In the United States, a cultural civil war. On one side, older, more traditional commentators nod. This is what institutions do, they say. They survive. They protect themselves. It's not pretty, but it's predictable. On the other side, a firestorm of digital fury. Social media becomes a battlefield. Hashtags like #abolish the monarchy and #stand with Meghan trend. The language is charged: institutional violence, psychological warfare, the ultimate gaslighting. The genius of the palace's move is that it gives the furious side nothing concrete to fight. They can't protest a meeting. They can't boycott an event. They can't dissect a juicy quote. All they have is a sterile, factual sentence. Their outrage spins in a vacuum, loud but ultimately directionless. Meanwhile, the palace communications team does something brilliant: nothing. They issue no follow-up. They offer no context. They let the 16 words hang in the air, hardening into fact. Act 4, the fallout, the aftershocks. The fallout isn't an explosion. It's a settling of dust. A new, stark landscape being revealed. Inside Montecito, the silence is reportedly complex. For Harry, this is the codification of his split reality. His life is now officially partitioned, before the statement and after the statement. Any lingering, secret hope of a soft reunion, of a family Christmas where things are okay, is extinguished. The bridge isn't burned. The official map has been redrawn to show it never existed for Meghan. The professional implications are immediate. Every European brand deal, every aspiration for a diplomatic-style role, every hope of a stateswoman persona on the global stage just evaporated. She is a celebrity. A very famous, very wealthy, very influential celebrity. But she is no longer in any way, shape, or form royal adjacent. The magic dust has been vacuumed up. Her allies in the media are in a bind. They can be outraged, but what is the story? Palace still not coordinating with Duchess? It's not news. It's the status quo. The energy of the conflict, the thrilling ping-pong of accusation and denial is gone. The oxygen has been sucked out. Across the Atlantic, the palace machinery engages in a quiet, massive cleanup operation. Legal teams review every existing protocol. What does no coordination mean for security during potential, unlikely visits to the UK? It means none. What does it mean for use of the Sussex title in commercial ventures that might touch Commonwealth nations? It means heightened scrutiny and non-cooperation. Commonwealth nations receive gentle, firm guidance. The Duchess is a private citizen. Treat her as you would any other foreign celebrity. No courtesies, no access, no implied endorsement. Charities and organizations in the UK and beyond get the message. Associating with the Sussexes means, by extension, associating with a narrative the palace has formally and publicly rejected. The risk calculus shifts overnight. The invitations dry up. The or else has finally been defined. The most fascinating fallout is within the royal family itself. There is no celebration. There is a grim, unified exhaustion. A job was done, a painful but necessary surgery was performed. The patient, the monarchy, is stable. Charles focuses on his sovereign duties with a renewed, if weary, clarity. William and Catherine plan for their future reign. The horizon finally clear of a perpetual distraction, and simply moves on to the next item on her endless list of duties. They have collectively chosen the institution over the individual, the future over the past. It is the ultimate act of royal duty, and it is as cold as the marble in the palace floors. Do you side with the palace's brutal pragmatism? Or does their cold efficiency reveal a fatal lack of heart? Act V. The legacy. What remains? So what is the legacy of the 16-word statement? For Meghan Markle, it is the gift and the curse of absolute freedom. The palace has, ironically, given her the one thing she always said she wanted: complete independence. There is no longer a they to react to define herself against, to seek approval from or rebel against. She is utterly free, but what is a rebel without a regime? What is a critic without an institution? Her narrative loses its central antagonist. Her story must now be about building, not battling. About what she creates, not what she escaped. It is a monumental, terrifying, and liberating challenge for Harry. The legacy is one of permanent liminality. He is a prince who cannot be a working royal, a founder of Invictus who may now attend only as a guest, not as a pillar of the institution that supports it, a father whose children's heritage is a source of global fascination, but whose family is split by a chasm his wife is forbidden to cross. His legacy is one of profound, irreconcilable tension for the monarchy. The legacy is one of survival. They have demonstrated that the institution can and will defend its own integrity. With ruthless efficiency, they have shown that never complain, never explain has evolved into never explain. But decisively act, they have traded a narrative of a messy, emotional, modern family for a narrative of an ancient, resilient, impersonal institution. It may make them less relatable, but it may also make them more durable. The public legacy is a world divided. For some, the monarchy has shed its last vestige of humanity, revealing itself to be a cold, calculating corporation in crowns. For others, it has finally shed its debilitating sentimentality and acted like the serious governing entity it needs to be. The deeper, universal legacy is a stark lesson in boundaries. This isn't just a royal story. It's a human one. It's about the moment in any relationship, familial, professional, personal, when the cost of connection outweighs its benefit, when the drama becomes the defining feature, when managing someone becomes your full-time job. The palace's statement is the ultimate boundary-setting move. It says, you are on that side of this line. We are on this side. We will not cross. You cannot cross. We will no longer discuss the line. The line is the fact. It is brutally healthy and brutally painful. Act VI. The final cliffhanger, the question that haunts. So, where does this leave us? At the edge of a new, uncharted territory. The cliffhanger is not about what Meghan will do next. She will speak. She will build. She will thrive or falter on her own merits. That's inevitable. The haunting, unresolved question hangs over Prince Harry. The man in the no man's land. Will he, over time, begin to resent the freedom that cost him his family? Will the solitude of his Californian kingdom start to feel less like liberation and more like exile? Will he look at his children, who carry a name and a history from which their mother is now formally severed, and feel a slow-burning grief? Or will he double down, becoming the fiercest defender of the Sussex brand, the loyal husband who chose love over blood, and build a new dynasty entirely separate from the old? Will he find peace in the total, unambiguous choice he has made? The palace has forced his hand into a permanent position. He is no longer floating between two worlds. The bridge is gone. He is on one shore. The final, silent battle is no longer between Meghan and the palace. It will be fought within the heart of a prince, between duty to the wife he chose and a ghostly, genetic pull to the institution he was born to serve. The palace has moved on. Meghan must now define her own kingdom, but Harry must live forever in the space between the sentence that was written and the life he has yet to build. The gavel is in your hand. The jury is this comment section. Team Crown or Team Chaos? Did the monarchy finally execute the tough leadership decision required to secure its future, sacrificing a messy present for a stable tomorrow? Or did they reveal their ultimate fragility, that they cannot withstand a strong woman telling her own story, resorting to the coldest form of exclusion to silence her? Was this the courageous act of an institution saving itself? Or the pathetic act of a fading relic scared of the light she brought? Debate it below. This is more than gossip. This is a referendum on power, family, and the price of saying the end.